And welcome to our special here on the First TV, why Donald Trump will win. I believe Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States. Well, let me be more precise. I believe Donald Trump will earn more electoral college votes in this upcoming election. Whether the left will ever let him step foot in the Oval Office ever again, that's an entirely different question and a different special. And we will cross that bridge when we get there. Because how could they let Hitler in the White House? Right, The Atlantic the other day ran the story, Trump is speaking like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini. It's all combined in one. By the way, that is so lazy. Like, give me a different dictator every now and again, right? It's always Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini. Give me, like, how is Trump like Genghis Khan? You know what I mean? Like, give me, like, how is Trump like Vlad the Impaler? Give me someone interesting. Been doing this for 9 years now, how he's like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini. But for that reason, I don't see why they let him in the White House. Right? But, again, we'll get to that. Why do I think Trump will win? I got 5 reasons why I think Donald Trump will win. Let's start with voter registration and some polls. And just give me a minute on this. I don't want to spend too much time on polls. But just so you know, Trump's about 5 or 6 points nationally ahead of where he was in the polls 2016 and 2020, where, of course, he won in 2016 and was very, very close in 2020. So either the polls have been corrected since then, and these are accurate numbers, in which case he's still ahead, very close, but still ahead, or the polls still advantage Democrats just as much as they did in 2016 and 2020, in which case Trump wins by a landslide. We'll see. But I think more important than polls is voter registration. In Pennsylvania in particular, it has always been very big Democrat registration advantage. And we have a guest who can give us all the details on this. But just know that Republicans in Pennsylvania overperform voter registration by about 600,000 votes. You with me on that sentence? So so you look at the Democrats, registered Republicans. Republicans tend to, on average, going back to the year 2000, overperform by 600,000 votes. And the Democrats recently had an advantage of 1.2 million registrants. Today, the Democrats have a 300,000 registration lead. That's it. So if Republicans overperform in Pennsylvania, the same that they have in every election, Trump wins Pennsylvania by a landslide. Again, these are big ifs. We don't know. We'll find out real soon. You got to do it. Voters in Pennsylvania actually have to go do the voting. But registration and polls have things looking really good. Okay, let's get to some issues. Second reason why I think Donald Trump is going to win, inflation. I heard a clip of Laura Trump, who we're going to talk to in a minute, on the Breakfast Club the other day. And Charlemagne said, what do you mean inflation is back down to 2%? First of all, it's not, right? Inflation numbers, core inflation, doesn't even include the things that have gone up the most. So they calculate inflation by taking a basket of goods. And there's like hundreds of them. Milk, chicken, t-shirts, postage stamps, a museum admission tickets. There's a whole list. There's 200 things. And they add them all up. And then they say, here's your average basket of goods. And we add it up, compare it to last year. And there's your inflation over time. But core inflation numbers don't include the price of gas or food. So when you hear the core inflation number, it doesn't include the things that we buy the most. But here's the deal with inflation. As they tell you, inflation has gone down. No, prices are still higher than they've ever been by far. If your house has 0 flooding in it, okay, imagine your house has no flooding, right? No inflation. And then the next day you have 5 feet of water in your house, right? The water's up to here. That's bad. But then the next day, it only increases 2%. And then the next day, it only increases by 2% again. And someone will say, oh, look, the flooding in your house is going down. Like, no, it's not. It's still going up. Sure, it's not going from 0 to 5 feet, but it's still going up. The water's still here. Inflation in 2021 went up a ton. And now it's still going up. It's not going up by as much as it was, but it's still up. It's certainly not going down overall. Over these last 3 years, inflation is over 20%. 20%. And we feel that everywhere we go. Everyone does. And it's because Biden and Harris spent trillions and trillions of dollars. Kamala was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act. You should be punished for that recklessness. And I believe the Democrats will be. Third reason why I think Donald Trump's going to win is inflation. Who would have thought that we would have Venezuelan prison gangs taking over apartment complexes across the United States of America? I believe after the election, we will look back on this exchange as a perfect example of this moment in time.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
How many apartment complexes is acceptable for Venezuelan prison gangs to take over? Martha says it's okay as long as it's only a handful. Fourth reason why I think Donald Trump will win is just woke insanity in general. I think the pinnacle of it is this ad from Donald Trump.
He murdered a father of 3, sentenced to life in prison. Kamala Harris pushed to use tax dollars to pay for his sex change.
I made sure that they changed the policy so that every transgender inmate would have access.
It sounds insane because it is insane. Kamala was the first to help pay for a prisoner's sex change.
The power that I had, I used it in a way that was about pushing for the movement, frankly, and the agenda.
Kamala's agenda is they, them, not you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
The person in that advertisement is Shiloh Heavenly Quine, the first person to have a taxpayer-funded sex change operation while in prison. His real name is Rodney. Now, Rodney is doing the best he can, living and surviving in a woman's prison in California right now. He just said, I saw the doctor yesterday, and I'm getting some feminization for my face because it turns out the hormones I was on quit working, so he's growing a beard. I'm getting my lips done. I'm getting some other facial surgery, but I have to litigate everything. I file grievances to stand up for what's right. Lip injections. This marginalized person murdered a father of 3 back in LA in 1980, stole $80 from this man. And you, taxpayer, have to fund lip injections for him now in prison. There are 462 requests from inmates for sex change operations just this year in California. So it's not just 1 or 2 people. There's another guy on death row. There was a couple in Newport Beach, Southern California, who were selling their boat that they lived on so they could be closer to their grandkids. And a guy, John Jacobson, answered the sales ad, and they took the boat out for a spin, and he shot them with a stun gun, tied them up, forced them to give him their bank account information and sign a deed of sale, tied them to the anchor, and threw them overboard. When police were investigating a missing persons report, they went to the boat and said, hey, what happened to these people? He's like, oh, I don't know. Here, they signed the deed of sale, and they just drove off, and that's it. His name's John Jacobson. He now goes by Skylar Precocia de Leon. You paid for his sex change operation. Well, if you're in California, you did. So enough of this nonsense already? Like all of it? It's not just these, like it's all of it. Like all the craziness in the last few years, all the woke nonsense, we're done. We're done with it. The mom of the woman who was killed on the boat, she said she used to be a Democrat. But all the Democrats, she said, all the Democrats have gone berserk. And she said Kamala's at the top of the list. Final reason, and people are just sick of all of it, right? All the wokeness for all the last 4 years. It's just a rejection of all of it. Let's get back to normal. Final reason why I think Donald Trump is going to win is he has something you can't buy. Not even Kamala's $1 billion. And that is momentum. He made it. He's the master of it. It's the OODA loop. We've talked about it many times before. I'll keep it really quick. This started the OODA loop. I'd say Trump's OODA loop, I'll explain OODA loop in 1 second. Trump's OODA loop, I think, started in the Bronx, going places that Republicans don't ever go. But I think it really kicked up the other day when he went to Aurora, Colorado, right? Where the Venezuelan prison gangs have taken over apartment complexes. That's where Trump really hit a groove here. And every single day he's gone to a new place to highlight a new theme and tell a new story. And all Kamala can do is react. And all the media can do is freak out, like going to McDonald's. And right after McDonald's, he went right to North Carolina to talk about the hurricane. Every day has been a new story, and he's been controlling the narrative. That's the OODA loop. This is designed by a dogfighting expert, like in the air, like fighter pilot, John Boyd. So the OODA loop is observe, orient, decide, act. So when you're dogfighting in the air and in politics, you have to be the first, and then you win. You have to be in control. You have to make decisions faster than the other guy. So you have to be able to, John Boyd said, you have to be able to observe what's happening, orient yourself to what's next, make a decision and act on it. And whoever does that first, you'll be in charge and you'll win the fight. And it's true with politics. Trump did this in 2016. He owned the narrative every day. No other candidate had any oxygen to talk about what they wanted to talk about. Everything Trump did, immediately, every reporter went to any other candidate and asked for a comment on Trump. He did it in 2016. He's doing it again now in the final weeks. All Kamala can do is react, and she cannot break through with her own narrative. And that is why I believe Trump is going to power through strong at the end here. But Trump can only do so much. People need to vote. Like, you have to go. Polls don't matter. Registrations don't matter. Great campaigning doesn't matter. Nothing matters unless you physically go and vote. So get your vote locked in way before Election Day. Get it locked in now so that on Election Day, the campaign knows exactly who to target with their phone calls and door knocking. I like to think of it as clearing the way. Vote now so you can clear the way so the campaigns can focus on the true person on the fence or low propensity voter or whatever it is. Save the campaign money and energy by voting early. If you vote early, you save the campaign about $88 in get out the vote efforts for someone else. You vote. Let the campaign focus on other people who are more on the fence. We got to beat the Democrats at their own game. And we have to win so overwhelmingly that they can't cheat their way out of it. And we'll face the freak out on November 6th when it comes. I can't wait for it. But right now, the goal is to win by landslide.